as Port Charles braces for an unprecedented winter storm. General Hospital viewers are being set up for what could be the soap opera's most devastating tragedy of 2026. The converging storylines of Lulu Spencer and Nathan West suggest that the incoming blizzard may deliver far more than just snow and ice. It threatens to deliver death itself to two characters whose unexpected connection has captivated fans and alarmed everyone around them. The current landscape of Port Charles is tense with secrets and dangerous liaisons. Nathan West, believed dead for years, has miraculously returned to Port Charles, much to the shock of his former wife Maxie Jones, who remains comatose at General Hospital. However, rather than reuniting with the woman he left behind, Nathan has grown increasingly close to Lulu Spencer, Maxie's best friend. This inappropriate attraction has become the central conflict upon which multiple Port Charles storylines converge, waiting for the catalyst that will ignite everything into chaos. Recent General Hospital episodes and spoilers reveal that Lulu's return from her own coma has placed her in direct contact with Nathan during a time when both characters are emotionally vulnerable and searching for connection. What began as innocent concern has blossomed into an undeniable attraction that neither character has been willing to fully acknowledge until now. The blizzard approaching Port Charles appears to be the narrative device that will force both characters to confront their feelings, their obligations, and ultimately their mortality. The blizzard arrives at Port Charles. According to recent General Hospital spoilers, a significant winter storm is descending upon Port Charles during the week of January 26 to 30/2026. This is not merely background weather to add atmosphere to the narrative. The blizzard appears to be a critical plot device orchestrated by the show's writers to create life-or-death situations that will test multiple characters and potentially change the trajectory of several major storylines. Throughout soap opera history, extreme weather events have consistently served as catalysts for tragedy, forcing characters into impossible choices and dangerous circumstances from which escape becomes increasingly unlikely. The blizzard creates the perfect narrative setup for tragedy precisely because it removes the safety nets that normally exist in soap operas. When extreme weather isolates characters, it strips away the possibility of convenient rescue or timely intervention that traditionally saves soap opera characters from their worst decisions and most dangerous circumstances. In the case of Lulu and Nathan, the snowstorm serves as a ticking clock, a force of nature completely indifferent to human emotion or connection, which continues its relentless assault regardless of whether characters live or die. According to spoilers for the week of January 27, Lulu turns to Nathan for help during the blizzard, suggesting that Lulu finds herself in a desperate situation that requires Nathan's immediate assistance and protection. Additionally, multiple characters are described as being waylaid during the same period, indicating that characters are being scattered and separated across Port Charles during the storm, unable to come to each other's aid or provide rescue when it becomes desperately needed. The search for Charlotte, a dangerous mission. The primary catalyst for Lulu and Nathan's predicament appears to be connected to Charlotte Cassadine Valentin's young daughter. Both Lulu and Valentine care deeply for Charlotte, and according to spoilers, the young girl goes missing during the chaos and confusion of the blizzard. When Carly encounters Lulu and Charlotte on Tuesday, January 27, she does so before the worst of the storm hits, and conditions deteriorate beyond rescue possibilities. 3. However, immediately following this encounter, Charlotte appears to separate from Lulu or becomes lost in the worsening weather. Valentine, already alarmed about something during the week of January 26 to 30, becomes increasingly frantic as the blizzard worsens and his beloved daughter cannot be located. The man's desperation to find Charlotte becomes a driving force that propels the narrative forward, and both Lulu and Nathan become involved in the search effort. This is where the tragedy likely begins to unfold in earnest, as both characters make decisions driven by emotion rather than logic, by duty rather than self-preservation. The search for a child in a blizzard represents one of soap opera's most tragic and emotionally resonant narratives. Characters push themselves beyond their physical limits, make dangerous decisions born from desperation, and frequently find themselves in circumstances where rescue becomes impossible. In the treacherous conditions of a Port Charles winter storm, even experienced and physically fit adults struggle to survive. For Lulu and Nathan, both driven by their genuine concern for Charlotte's welfare and safety, the responsibility to find her likely overrides any logical consideration of their own safety and survival. Nathan's vulnerability. A hero's final stand. Nathan West has consistently demonstrated that he represents the prototypical soap opera hero, a man willing to sacrifice everything for those he cares about. Despite his miraculous resurrection from apparent death, Nathan retains his fundamental heroic nature and his instinct to protect the vulnerable. According to SpoiIers for Thursday, January 29, Nathan lets his guard down, a phrase that carries ominous double meaning in the context of an approaching blizzard. Throughout his time in Port Charles following his resurrection, Nathan has maintained emotional walls and defensive barriers. The reunion with Maxie and the devastating realization that she remains in a deep coma has shattered him emotionally. Lulu has become a source of comfort during this difficult period. Perhaps too much comfort given her complex connection to Maxie and their friendship one. When Nathan lets his guard down, he may be opening his heart to acknowledge his feelings for Lulu, but he is simultaneously lowering his defenses against the genuine dangers surrounding them in the approaching blizzard. Moreover, Nathan may be letting his guard down in a purely physical sense. Searching for a child in a severe winter storm requires absolute vigilance and complete cognitive focus on the task at hand. If Nathan's attention becomes divided between his emotional connection to Lulu and the physical demands of searching for Charlotte in the dangerous weather, he becomes increasingly vulnerable to hypothermia, disorientation, and injuries from slipping or falling on ice-covered terrain. Lulu's unfinished story, a tragic sacrifice. Lulu Spencer has endured far more than her fair share of trauma and suffering over the years. Following the explosion at the Floating Rib in 2020 that killed her boyfriend Dustin Phillips and teenager Dev Cersei, Lulu fell into a deep coma from which she only recently awakened, portrayed by new actress Alexa Havins. Her return to consciousness and her reintegration into Port Charles should represent a fresh start and a genuine second chance at life, love, and connection. Instead, she finds herself entangled in a deeply complicated emotional situation with Nathan West, a man whose very existence complicates the lives of everyone he touches. The tragedy of Lulu's potential demise lies in the cruel irony that she would finally be finding genuine connection and purpose after years of darkness and unconsciousness, only to lose it all in the unforgiving winter weather and harsh natural forces. Lulu's instinct to help search for Charlotte reflects her fundamental goodness as a character and her willingness to prioritize the safety of others over her own well-being. While this noble quality is admirable from a moral standpoint, it simultaneously makes her dangerously vulnerable to circumstances that lie far beyond her control. During the blizzard, Lulu will likely push herself beyond her physical and mental limits in pursuit of saving Charlotte. A character recently awakened from a coma may not possess the full physical strength, endurance, and resilience necessary to withstand the rigors of searching for a missing child in life-threatening weather conditions. Additionally, Lulu's complicated emotional state, conflicted between her growing feelings for Nathan and her loyalty to her best friend Maxie, may create significant psychological strain that impairs her judgment and decision-making capabilities during the crisis. The ominous convergence of circumstances. Several narrative threads appear to be weaving together toward a tragic conclusion involving both Lulu and Nathan. First, the storyline specifically indicates that both characters are waylaid and separated from potential help during the blizzard, suggesting they become stranded without rescue options or assistance from other characters. Second, multiple important characters are scattered during this period dealing with their own crises. Jason is preoccupied with Britt's situation, Carly is managing various Port Charles crises, and even Valentin becomes increasingly consumed with his own problems. This means the traditional rescue team typically available to save characters in General Hospital remains unavailable when Lulu and Nathan need help. Third, the emotional intensity between Lulu and Nathan has reached a critical point in their relationship. The writers have deliberately highlighted their growing connection while also emphasizing the moral complications and ethical concerns surrounding their attraction. Tragedy often strikes hardest when characters are operating with divided loyalty and emotional confusion about their priorities. Fourth, the blizzard represents an external force completely indifferent to character development, emotional arcs, or the desires of Port Charles residents. Unlike human villains who can be reasoned with or overcome through cunning intelligence or heroic action, nature cannot be negotiated with or defeated through any conventional means. Fifth, both characters possess significant emotional unfinished business that makes them psychologically vulnerable. Nathan struggles with his resurrection and the lost years he cannot recover with Maxie, while Lulu battles the trauma of her coma and the overwhelming challenge of rebuilding her life. The devastating impact on Port Charles. If both Lulu and Nathan perished during the blizzard, the impact on Port Charles would be profound and far-reaching. For Maxie, who remains comatose in the hospital, the revelation that Nathan died again while with her best friend could prove psychologically devastating upon her eventual awakening. For Valentin and Charlotte, the loss of Lulu would represent the disappearance of someone who genuinely cared about Charlotte's welfare. For Jason Morgan and others in Port Charles who respect and value Nathan West, his second death would be a bitter and tragic confirmation that some resurrections carry devastating consequences for everyone involved. The Blizzard tragedy would serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of emotional infidelity and divided loyalty, demonstrating how Lulu's inappropriate feelings for her best friend's husband, combined with Nathan's complicated emotional state, create a combustible situation. Alternatives. Hope for survival. However, soap operas thrive on unexpected plot twists and miraculous character survivals. While evidence suggests a tragic ending may be looming for Lulu and Nathan during the Port Charles blizzard, several alternative scenarios remain possible. They could be rescued at the last possible moment with Jason or another character managing to locate them before hypothermia becomes fatal. Charlotte could be located before Lulu and Nathan are forced to search extensively in the dangerous conditions, reducing their time exposed to the elements. One character could survive while the other perishes, creating a complicated survivor's guilt dynamic that drives